You guys look to win this game. You're not looking past Kobe. You're not saying he's going to beat you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Definitely want to win this game. Kobe's good, but we can contain him. Hopefully we can get a win.
Is he thinking the same thing? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same because Kobe is the best player by far, but if we can contain him, then their team can't really do much, I think.
The question is if. Is there anybody here that feels they can contain him?
I think the whole team can contain him. If we all just work together, we can all contain him.
It's likely that you've seen this clip on your social media feed at least once. These are high school athletes who were eager to face 17-year-old Kobe Bryant, and they seemed confident that they would get the win after containing him. Well, except this guy who looks like he probably had to guard Kobe that game, but everybody else sounds confident. However, what made the clip so viral and popular was not the kids talking, but Kobe's response.
I just had an opportunity to go in the other locker room. I asked the starting five what they thought of you. Two of them said, well, we think we can contain him. Two others said, we think we're going to win the game, and I'd like to know what you think. Watch you?
That's a very Kobe Bryant response. Gives you that job's not finished vibe. But the only problem with that response is that most of us didn't see. I've spent so much time searching through all of Kobe's high school games and found nothing. There's no footage of the game on the internet, and there's like 3 different stories of what actually happened, so many people don't actually know the exact outcome of the game, including myself, kinda. So the real outcome remains a mystery, but stick along because that's what we'll be finding out in this video. So without wasting any time, let's get into it. First off, man, leave a like before we go on. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting this anywhere else, so just come on, man, just leave a like. The year is 1996. The date is unknown, but this was a crucial game for both teams who were playing in the state playoffs and who also had hopes of winning the state championship. While there's no footage of the game that took place after these interviews, we can be sure of a couple of things. We know for sure that Kobe's high school, Lower Merion, was set to face Strathaven High School, and we know this because we can see it on this player's t-shirt. I looked up the school and what do you know? They were rivals. We also know that these players, including Kobe Bryant, were set to play a basketball game, right? So why is it that this Strathaven player in the middle is wearing a t-shirt with a football on it? Is it because the school didn't have any warm-ups for the basketball team? I doubt it. This is Jim Connor, a high school coach who attended Strathaven High School. He was a freshman in 1996, and when that game took place, I believe he was on the high school team bench. He shared a story about a time when his team faced Kobe in Lower Merion, and among all the different stories about what happened that game, the story shared by Jim Connor seems to be the most accurate because the details seem to match many things we see in the video. According to Connor, this wasn't just any other high school game because 1, the best high school player in the nation was going to be playing that night, and 2, the game had some notable figures in attendance. There were many college coaches, NBA players, and even NBA Commissioner David Stern, the man who would call up Kobe on draft night just a few months later, was there. Just imagine Adam Silver casually pulling up to your high school to watch you play. That's basically what it was. Since Kobe was the #1 player in the nation, publicity was probably nothing new. But something about this game seemed different. By reading Connor's story, you'll realize that this game was a state playoff game and probably a win or go home, which would explain why David Stern was in attendance and why ESPN was also there to cover the game and interview these players. Strathaven, like any other team, wanted to win this game. But they knew who Kobe was, or at the very least had an idea of who he was because they had faced him in the playoffs before. Their game plan in the previous year was to hold him to 30 or 35, which is not as bad as it sounds given that Kobe averaged 30.8 points and 12 rebounds, but as the coach will tell you, obviously they weren't very successful because Kobe scored 40 and his team won by 30 points, which explains why these boys were so eager and uneasy to face Kobe. I don't know, man. They just looked like they worked so hard and did their left hand layups in practice, and they could dribble with their right and their left hand, you know.
1, 2, 3,
But there's still a question that hasn't been answered. Why is this player who's about to play a basketball game wearing a football t-shirt? It could be that he's a two-sport athlete and maybe I'm looking too much into it, but Jim Connor's story points to something else. Because Strathaven was so determined to win the game in hopes of having a deeper playoff run and being the team that would stop Kobe, the coaches were determined to win by any means necessary. So they changed the game plan, and in desperation, Strathaven's game plan became to foul Kobe as much as possible. And they needed all the help they could get to guard Kobe, or in this case foul him, and what better place to look than the school football team. The basketball coaches called up members of the football team, including Jim Connor, to guard Kobe and be there in case the basketball players fouled out. Hence, the football t-shirt. Connor said, "They brought me up there to be ready in case our centers fouled out because that was what we were going to do, realizing that he was better than a box and one or a triangle and two defense. We were just going to hack him." This explains their confidence before the game and why they were so convinced that they could contain him, and they actually almost did. This is the part of the video where I really wish I had the footage of the game because the details shared in the story seem too simple to give us a real picture. Strathaven's plan to hack and contain Kobe was successful, but only for some time. The game was close, but Jim remembers that even with the hacking, Kobe was every bit as good as he had heard about. He remembers seeing 3 alley-oops and 6 dunks, but Strathaven had the lead as the fourth quarter was winding down, and 17-year-old Kobe had a huge performance and came up clutch as he hit a huge shot to tie the game with 5 seconds left. The game went into overtime and the plan was the same for Strathaven, but what they didn't consider was that hacking, fouling, double teaming, or even triple teaming was nothing new to Kobe, as you can see in many of his high school highlights. On top of that, Kobe was still upset about not winning the state championship the previous year, so much so that he wrote an apology in the yearbook of every graduating senior. So the Mamba obsession was there, and Kobe was not going to lose this game. He went into overtime and won the game, and actually finished with a high school career high of 44 points. The game ended 83-70. Jim said that even though they lost, they did not feel that bad because they had seen somebody really special play. Kobe went on to lead his team to the state championship for the first time in 53 years and was named a McDonald's All-American, Naismith High School Player of the Year, and the Gatorades Men's National Basketball Player of the Year. And he was drafted, and we know the rest of the story. That's it for the video though. Click the screen if you want to watch how a one-on-one game led to Kobe being an NBA champion, or how 6-year-old Kobe scored 63 points. But be sure to like and subscribe. I spend hours on these videos, so you might as well spend 1 second and click the like button. Jeez. I'm joking, not really. Peace.